He sent it. He attached it to my messages. And when I opened them, it was a bunch of evidence, conversations, and a lot of things. That proved evidently, accurate evidently, not allegedly, that the government have an hands of whatever is happening. He have a connection with all these people because Ajima Bedu and co are putting pressure on the government that he promised them. He promised them heaven and hell, and it is time that he fulfill his promises to them. And if you look at some of the conversations, because they can actually do everything with their power to control their communications within Ghana telecoms, that their privacy needs to be protected in security-wise, but you cannot control the cyber connection that people can hack and get information. Whatever it is, you cannot control that one. You can never control that one. So the government is fully aware and his hands are quite tight because he is actually lamenting about his own benefit, the benefit he will gain concerning their action, playing a part of divide and rule tactics. So this has been the method of attention all this while. That is why this gentleman parading himself called the one in the border town. That is why he was bringing this kind of issue, a conflict between the political Aboriginal and the political Asante, using the youth, antagonistic them with the nature that Blue Asante, like he actually play a hero mind, like a hero gang. And that has been the basic nature of what's going on. So on the conversation, the government's hands are tied because this guy is speaking with other colleagues. He is speaking with other colleagues, complaining the government because for a long time now, they were expecting the government to make an action. So the government actually was also personalizing some of the people in the National House of Chiefs, but it was impossible because they keep referring to the government that if you have any concerns at all, you need to go to the court or otherwise contact Otumfuo. So this has been a method of how can we do it? So they are creating this scene and this tension, scaling Nana Samba Jafra away. They knew that he's very kind, and because of his kind nature, people actually assumed him as weak because he knew him. The man in that border town knew him that he do not want to involve in such actions and such disturbances and such attitude and kind of things like this. So he is prompting Samudia for Luke. He's prompting him to do that because he has been a friend with this Nana Samba Jafra for a long time, since their childhood, since secondary school, since university, and since law school, and he actually knows the weaknesses of this man. He knows what he's capable of doing, and he knows his kind nature. And he is using this to instigate and also supporting the rule of Samodia and using the guns, using the militant group to scare Nana Samba Jafra away. And this has been a point of attraction for the government to deliberately ignore the attention that he is not aware of what is going on in Zampa. So when he went there and one conversation, I remember there was a line breaking, but at the end, the border town man said to somebody he was discussing with, which is equally in the Bron region and equally a chief in the Bron region, the person was asking him, why is it taking too long for this government to do what he promised us? Because he seems he has taken advantage of us. Everything is about something. And the main reason why we campaign against him and also spend so many finances on these guys, the government are intentionally ignoring the fact that he has had this discussion with us. And the man in the border town responded that, don't you worry, because whatever it is, he's coming on top, because I have already received the message from him that he will step in Doemaahene before he go to the center. So whatever it is, we will have that discussion. Oh my brother. Whatever it is, we will definitely have the discussion with him when he returns. After we have the public meeting. And he said, okay, well, let's see how it goes. We have to be very, very hard on him. because it seems he wanted to take advantage of us. We have done a good work and they have owned all the seats in Bromwich. It is within the conversation because the government promised them. The government actually funded them with a lot of, during the campaign, there was a lot of money pounding to the man on that border town to instigate tribal tension and also use a tribal sentiment and use a lot of things that could influence and fuel bitterness and fuel indifferences and separation. And that is exactly what he did according to him. He said, "It is my face that I have used, and many people is pointing, even children are insulting me. So if you cannot fulfill what you actually promised to me, then I do not have any option. I have to do whatever it is until he becomes to his senses." And that is what the border town man responded to, the person he was having a conversation with. So as I'm saying to you that there has been quite a lot of, and guess what? This man, the Ahmed, he was also pulled because there was a thought of another scenario. There was a thought of another scenario, which is about 10 minutes audio. The discussion said that him, the border town man, actually said to Ahmed that this is a time they have to support him to execute the plan and the tension between the Bunu region and the Asante region. Otherwise, on their next election, they should make sure that if their plan do not sustain, they will lose most of the seats in the Bunu region. And this Ahmed said he will do everything in his capacity and everything he can do to also do his quota, like he has started in Sunyai, because he knew that the Queen Mother is playing hard on the conversation. He said he knew that the Queen Mother is playing. It is not completely done because there has been a lot of assertion between the families supporting each other, but they are trying their best. Oh. And this man said there has been a lot of sentiments and a lot of things that's still not right. They are not able to complete how it is because the Queen Mother is not been convincing enough. So they should give him time. And this guy also called him a Doemaahene and smiled. He giggled in that conversation. It is within there. This bastard are using human life to sustain power. They are using the law for their own influence and their own benefits. And this has been the time. I'm telling you that whatever we will do to expose this bastard, it will come to light very soon. Because their conversations are now leaking out. And appropriate people will get hold of it. And this man is talking too much. If the politician do not know, this guy is speaking a lot. The one near the border town. He is complaining, especially drilling last 3 months to this month. He has been complaining and talking enough. And that confirms everything the government planned with them. Mahama is fully aware and he knew, he promised them. He was the one responsible funding the money to execute and hiring those, recruiting those militant marshals to execute the plan. So in another they are fully aware that they cannot do anything about it. Initially, they were threatening the National House of Chiefs. Somewhere around, if you play the second audio, it is within about some second that we have tried the law, but it is not in Samuel's favor. And if we push it more, it will be exposed and our hands will become tight. And very soon election is near, so we cannot risk it as well. So you could do anything possible that we will intentionally ignore that we have not seen what is going on. So, but make sure that it wouldn't be escalated. Because when it becomes escalated, we do not have any option than to act. This is within them. If the government say he did not say it, they should come and carry themselves for them to. This is what they are doing. So they are exchanging the lives of people in Sampa, the lives of the young ones, the mothers and disabled people, the students and the sick in Sampa for their own benefits. They don't care. As long as they can obtain the seats in the Bro region, and they are also planning the same thing in two of the towns in the Bro East. And I shall speak with you now. Very soon, there will be an uprising agitation, and the people that will start, they don't come from those towns. They will start agitating, and this is the same, parading and mention his name with a t-shirt. And this will start very soon. This will start very soon. It's because it was part of their plan. On the 5th audio, I am telling you, these people, they do not mean good for anyone. Especially the man with the ugly face, with an evil autistic understanding, that lives near the border town, do not have a conscience to reason. As long as it goes for him, as long as it comes on his side, as long as he feels comfortable of any action that favors his stupidity, he do not care the consequences anymore. So I'm telling every individual Asante, in whatever regions your towns are located, that this is not a time to play any political tantrum or political favoritism. This is not a time to actually start pointing hands and by biting ourselves with the nonsense going on the social media, on the stupidity, disgrace action, attitude some people are exhibiting on the social media. This is a time that if you are something, no matter what region, your town, or no matter whatever administration your town or your village is located, it is a time for you to stand up, because Asante is an identity, and as an identity, it needs to be protected. There is nothing called Bruno. It was created. There was individual that came from the Mori cave. You all are well about the story. We don't have to repeat it anytime we speak. There were the people that actually settled in the place now called Bromanso within the Nkranza municipality. There is nothing called a Bruno. But as long as people admit that identity, it is up to them. It's entirely up to them. Nobody cares. But as long as we also live as an Asante people, no matter what you are, no matter who you are, this is a time to showcase your passion, your anti-histic nature, to support what we are also have. Because this man, he have decided not to stop. And it is time to dance his own drums with him. So the governments are the people funding them. And Ahmed, the chieftaincy minister, have decided to now influence some of the Ashanti towns, especially in the Bro and the Bro East and the Afo. And they have decided this is what it was, because this last month, me and my dear brother General, we were discussing a concerning issue that sudden pop up. I think a general brought it to me on one of our WhatsApp group. Then I went there to check, and it was this Ahmed, is the letter or something like that, who decided to send a letter to one of this Kenya's #1 about secession. How could he even dare? How could he even think of this? And what was the plan behind it? Why are they trying to influence the chiefs and the parliament chiefs to agree with them to put a secession like they did to Sunyani? In 2010, they did a workshop in Sunyani, and some of them are not participating on the workshop, and most of them was persuaded to agree and write a secession and pass it through National House of Chiefs as a legislative. Most of them do not understand So they agreed to do that. And now the government will have power. If in case there is any dispute on those tools, the government want to influence and penetrate by using money to influence them, by using sweet sugar coating words, by telling them opposite what the agendas are, to enable Nananum to agree with them and put secession by legislative nature on their stools. So that in the future, about 10 to 20 years, the government then will have the autonomous power to instill and distill chiefs through those legislative. This is what they are executing now. So they are trying to take the power that the kings, the chiefs, the sub-chiefs, and other traditional areas or whatever makes them superior, they are trying to also impose it to themselves, and later on, they will reign the chieftaincy again, which will enable the politician to fully involve and participate based on the agreed legislative that Ananum actually agreed to put on the basis of the law. And it would definitely tie their hands once anything's happening in the school. There is nothing again, because if you go to any court, the court is going to demand, or based on the legislative concept, to decide the case. So it means they would automatically have control over the stools. And this is what they are planning. So this recently, there is another what they call evidence that pop-ups concerning the meeting they have had with some of the chiefs in the Bro region, and they have also able to convince a couple of chiefs in the Hafo region. We came here, we were discussing one of them, which basically exposed on the Bro line. The letter was everywhere, and everybody could see the letter. It is not something hidden. They were trying to make it because they make a plan to meet them and discuss about the succession. Then they could actually partake them and make a legislative on Kenya's number 1 too. Because the government knew there is a gold there. There is gold that now, as I spoke with you now, a very massive gold concession in that land. And they knew that land belongs to Otumfuo. So they are pursuing that land through the customary traditional leaders to agree with them for succession and pass it through as legislative. Then they might have power in the future to control those areas. We are sitting on a time bomb. And it is time that we stop them. Whatever way we will actually take to stop them, it depends on me and you, confidentiality. Because these people, they are too small to be handled. I'm telling you. The world are becoming so globally. And I'm telling you, everywhere is so small to every person because of the connectivity that we actually share nowadays in most of the media connection, the social media networking and that stuff. Everything you are doing now, somebody from anywhere, any part of the world can reach you, can connect you, can expose it, can actually understand it, translate it. So it is not like those days you have to wait until Ghana Broadcasting Corporation will come at news at 6. This time is sudden. A little boy can video something that happened anywhere and post it on their website, and it will start going viral. So it is a global world which we are actually assassinating ourselves within it. We are streaming it, and whatever it is, nobody is nobody. And this is the word that we live now. But the most important people we have had, the big figures that cannot be controlled or overpowered, is our kings. Because they actually have power to control their resources, control their people, control their culture, exhibit their tradition. And this is what makes them scared. The future do not hold any longer for the politician. That is why we are seeing so many wars around the world, because of domination. The politicians are not seeking for positions. They are not trying to put they are looking for a foundation that could fill them to be stronger for the future to come. And this is what they are doing, creating mess, creating tension, creating trouble, creating division, creating wars, and they are scotting themselves free. But it is up to me and you to begin to tell them they are nobody. They were nobody. We give them power to become somebody. They were never anybody at all. They were never ever anybody. We made them to be somebody because we entrust our own powers, we entrust our own surety to them to actually help us and lead us. And this is how they are powerful. Otherwise, they do not have any power. There is another thing again. I'm not speaking tree because I want every person to get involved on my conversation. Either I can speak better English or I cannot express well. I will still decide to speak English because these things shouldn't be maintained within the Ghanaian community. It needs to be escalated for other countries to know what is going on within Ghana. What people are being killed. Asantis have been attacked. They've been segregated. They've been unemployed. Intentionally, deliberately unemployed. They've been discriminated and stereotyping and prejudiced for a very long time now. Now it is a crime for someone to be an Asante in any jurisdictional administration or political administrative areas, which they created themselves. The native lands was existed before they came, but now they are using the system of the political administrative divisional areas to divide and to kill and to disappear the certain group of people. And as I speak to you now, if you're a foreigner, Ghana is not peaceful for you. It's not safe. Don't try to go to Ghana. It's not safe. Because if the government cannot maintain the internal insecurity, the internal hatred and segregation against the Asantis, because they want to accuse the king, they want the king to relax. They want Asante because they knew that his name has been elevated all around the world. And all world leaders respect him. All world organizations respect him. And he be honored as a peace noble person. And because of that, they are executing every evil intention against the Asantis. And they expect him to trigger the king's anger and provoke him to speak or relax. Then they would immediately blame him of all their evil intentions around the world. And people will begin to point hands on the king. And this is their intention. So we should let the world know what Ghana government and his people are doing against the Asante Kingdom. Their evil intentions of killing, their evil intentions of attacking the Asante businesses, evil intention of not recruiting Asantis in military, in police, not posting the Asante professionals as teachers and other people, intentionally want to learn them as poor, learn them as nobody. Then they could not have supreme power to control themselves. And this has been going on. If you are a foreigner, Ghana is never safe. Because as a safe country, a law has to be enforced. The organization has to be independent to explore or work. The institution needs to be given freedom to operate. But here it comes. The institution has been influenced by the government and its people. Our government body is friends and family. Our government body is full of tribalistic nature. People that are anti-Asante. And they have been put in place there to fight against the superiority and domination of Asante people. And this is what they are doing. Day in, day in, Asantis are suffered. But because of our king being a peaceful nature man, we cannot defend ourselves. Not that we cannot, but we respect the diplomatic nature of our king, the literacy nature of our king, the intellectual, professional, skillful nature as he is. We don't want to relax. But here it comes. We are being bullied. We are being harassed. We have been discriminated. Our children are suffered. They are putting anti-Asantis in positions. And Asante youths are not getting employed. They are not being hired. They are not being posted. Some of them are still in the houses. Their moms are still feeding them. Though they are qualified nurses, they are qualified teachers, they are qualified trainees, and yet the government is doing this to make Asante suffer. And because of this, we cannot keep quiet. And we want you to know, so that in next day or in the future, when you see anybody pointing hands or accusing Asante people of defending ourselves, you'll be our witness for today, because we will defend ourselves. Since they have decided to bully, intimidate, and to kill us and uproot our generation, remember, Asante lives mattered. That is why I'm doing so, whatever it is, to speak a language I can share with you, which you can understand me, and you can see the pains that Asantis are going through. We are warriors. We are stronger. We can conquer them. But this world today, everybody is fighting for development. Everybody is fighting for a health facility, a good standard development. That is why we've been quiet, tolerating all this abuse, all this killing and stuff like that. But maybe it might not last long, because every human being have got a limit. And when that limit occurs, do not blame any Asantis. The government want to pinch our king because they knew he's recognized worldwide. And he is powerful than him. And because of that, they are using this to sabotage him. And our king are not talking, because he knows how the media tabloids could influence and lie and propagate falsehood. And he's so decent. He's so lovely, kind person. He's so passionate and so wonderful king. And he is not talking because of how they could accuse him of. If you were me, what will you do? Will you sit down to look at these things lavish against the Asantis? You wouldn't do that. You will fight back. And this is what we are going to do. And let today be a testimony. Asantis will defend ourselves, because the government is intentionally stampeding us. They are trying to uproot, depopulate us. They are killing us in whatever method they could. They are executing our people. Everybody that associates in Asante is in trouble, because they are putting the anti-Asantis people in the tourism places. Our language is being attacked. Even as I speak with you now, people from different countries have been told, why are you speaking Chi? Why are you speaking Chi? What did they think they are? It is all the ideas of the government. Every ministry that could enable other people to participate as citizens, they have intentionally put in anti-Asantis there. The chieftaincy ministry, anti-Asante is there. Busy involving with other tools that are under Asante, penetrating through those tools to fight against the monarchy. This is going on. And if you go to the tourism ministry, there is another big anti-Asante they have placed there, who is willing to claim even our kente. Our heritage has been attacked. This lady, because they are placed there, she's busy claiming Asante's artifact, Asante customs and culture, even claiming that our kente, that have lived more than 400 years, belong to a certain people called Aibe, and even changing the name Kete. Can you believe this? And because they have influence, they have been placed as a tourism minister, so they could actually get involved and get participated and come across many people from the diaspora. And they are lavishing this evil intention, stocking it in their head, so that they will actually tarnish the image of our customs. Then people wouldn't even know. People wouldn't believe anymore, because the tourism minister have been educating people he's coming across with a false history, a false narrative of our custom and heritage. And what about the sports ministry? There is another big anti-Asante they have placed there. And as I speak to you now, even Ghana national team, you wouldn't even see more. The Akans are the dominant group in Ghana. The Asantis are the majority. But go and check how many Akans is in our national team. Few. because this has been the intention, diminishing the power from our youth, our young ones, because they knew that if they deploy them, if they actually make them publish, like they make them poor, they cannot actively face them in the future. They are empowering that group against Asantis. And as I speak to you now, every ministry, the interior ministry, is busy antagonistic with the people, killing Asantis in one of the Asantis traditional area called Sampa. They are lavishing the citizens there, brutalizing them, killing them in the broad daylight, destroying properties, and the man that has not been legally gazetted is parading himself as a parliament chief, and the one that have been customarily guaranteed and customarily accepted and legally also gazetted is being chased away, and the interior minister is supporting the one that have not. The case went to the process of court. The court sat on the case. The court actually decided the case. Yet, Ghana government has refused to enforce the law. And he is even funding the guy who has not been gazetted. And just yesterday, the gazetted king, people went to his house under command by the interior ministry. They ransacked his house, brutalizing even 7-year-old girl, killing people there, burning houses, burning cars, and you're telling me Ghana is peaceful? Is there a country you are coming to visit? Is that country you are actually convinced that it's peaceful? Ghana is peaceful because Asantis have accepted to make it peaceful. Asantis are being too polite, too intellectual, and too educated, ignoring all these lavishing attacks and still sustaining the country to remain peaceful. But it will not remain forever. Because even when you beat your own child onto a certain limit, they relax. The parents will let them relax. They will speak back to you. And this time you're going to spit every saliva from whatever grounds in our mouth, out of every ground that you will touch. And that is what will happen.